Look, I get it. Humans suck. Look around for 30 seconds and you can find about 100 reasons why humanity ruins practically everything. Sure, there's tons of great things humans do too, but generally, humans are selfish and destructive to all things that don't benefit them. Like trees. When was the last time a tree did shit for you? All trees do is drop acorns on your car. I have like 12 dents in my hood personally. I swear they have some unholy alliance with squirrels. But I don't hate squirrels. I love those little critters. Not so much that I think I am one, but that's just me. You may think that's an obvious statement for anyone. You aren't a small, fuzzy little tree rat, but it's not that apparent for a number of other people. Some people think humanity sucks so much they begin to identify as things a little less human.
Jeg Nano, 7 år. Jeg har vært katt hele livet. Jeg fant ut at jeg var katt når jeg var 16 år, da leger og psykologer fant ut hva som var med meg.
She says doctors found a genetic defect in her DNA, which she claims proves she is indeed a cat.
Hva skjedde nå?
Det en hund der sånn.
Du født sånn?
Ja, jeg født sånn.
Født I feil art?
Født I feil art.
She wears cat ears, a fake fluffy tail, and crawls around on all fours.
Everyone wants to be a cat until it comes to washing their ass. That's when things get a lot more human real quick. These special kinds of people we're talking about today are typically known as Otherkin, as in other than human kin. Otherkin are a subculture of people who socially identify as partially or entirely non-human. And yes, I ripped that right off Wikipedia. I'm Wikipedia-kin, didn't you know? Can't you tell by looking at me? Now, many of these people will insist that they were born this way. They came out of their mother's womb feeling like a GD cat or a bear or a snake or anything else. It had nothing to do with the fact that they went a little too far into imagination land as a kid. And in a desperate attempt for attention and to feel different and important, they essentially broke the logical side of their brain and they now think they're more animal than human. Scary world we live in, people. I'll admit something to you right now. As a kid, I wanted to be a kangaroo. I remember actually being pissed when I came to the full realization that I was a human and that was as good as it was gonna get. And I'm not kidding either. Kangaroos are the shit, and there's no way to adequately imitate them. Stuffing a baby into your pants doesn't get you on the cover of National Geographic. It gets you arrested. Again. Listen, I understand feeling connected to an animal. I have a few types of animals I have a certain love for because to me they're awesome, and I admire certain traits that they possess that I don't myself. When I was younger, I loved raptors as well. I used to learn so much about them using this old toy called a 2XL. Thumbs up the video if you remember that lovable little robot. But I also wanted to be a raptor. I wanted to be one. I shit you not, I used to run around like one. And while I may have pretended to be one of those animals when I was a kid, eventually, you've gotta stop being a fucking dinosaur and get a job. Now, I need to be honest with you here. Otherkin aren't exactly defined the way I'm saying they are. I mean, I guess it kinda depends on who you ask, considering their subculture can't seem to agree on their own terms. There are two types of people who identify as non-human. There are Otherkin, and there are also people referred to as Therian. And according to a couple of different sources who I consider legitimate, mainly because they were able to form two sentences together in an articulate way, there is a distinct and rather alarming difference between the two. I'll admit that what I've been describing isn't exactly considered Otherkin. Why didn't I say this at the beginning? Because I wanted to see how many people commented furiously over only watching the first few minutes of the video. That kind of thing is just funny to me. Anyway, all this time I've been actually describing Therians. Those are the people who feel they are partly animals. Otherkin are actually a bit worse and are seen as ridiculous and discrediting even to the Therian community. Unbelievable. Otherkin feel themselves non-human as well. However, they don't identify as animals. They identify as mythical creatures. Anything from dragons to fairies. Compared to Otherkin, Therians actually seem incredibly tame. Like a good boy. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. But if we're going to examine the true extent of the absurdity, we must venture to another place. Let's take a trip to Tumblr Town. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between, strap in. It's gonna get a little bumpy. I explored some of the Otherkin tags on Tumblr, one of the biggest mistakes in my life, and I encountered some mind-blowing things. Here's a few. I've said it before, but you can be friends with stars, dragons, vampires, wolves, fairies, even your favorite fictional characters. There's so much variety. Hug a mermaid. Why? Because you can. Honestly, Otherkin are so amazing, I can't comprehend why people would ever hate on us, when you can just go out to dinner with an angel instead. Isn't that so much cooler than harassing strangers? Yeah, if I lived on Fantasy Island, that would be an awesome thing to do. I suppose if I had a choice between going to dinner with a legitimate angel and harassing some weirdo on Tumblr, it'd probably take me a few days to decide, but I'd probably maybe go with having dinner with an angel. I don't know. What about you? I miss flying, the wind smoothly flowing over my wings. I miss the dives, the banks, and weaving in between structures. I miss flying fast. Okay. Are you talking about an airplane? Because I think your pilot was an asshole, if that's what you're talking about. Diving in the banks and weaving in between structures? What kind of plane were you on? Holy shit, I'm kind of scared. Because I know you ain't talking about being a fucking animal that can fly. Nope, you ain't talking about that. Me. Wonders why my back hurts so much. Me. Remembers that I have wings twice my size. Me. Oh. Hashtag demonkin, hashtag otherkin, hashtag dragonking, hashtag dragonkin. Okay, so your non-existent wings are making your back hurt. You are so beyond that it's just impossible to like even try to like be like, okay, let's try to see it from there. But no, you're beyond. You're too beyond. Otherkin tend to consider themselves spiritually non-human, or even, now get this, genetically non-human. Genetically, some of them quite literally think they are biologically part dragon. Aside from the fact that they don't have any idea of what an actual dragon, if one existed, is truly like. And what cultural depiction of a dragon are they even being inspired by? A European version or a Chinese version or any other versions? From what I've seen, most seem to go with a more European description. Huge wings and whatnot. And seeing these wings actually to some point physically exist, they may cause back pain. Seriously, what the fuck? Vice, one of the better hit or miss news sources out there, ran an article on Otherkin recently. Must have been a slow news day. While the article was more about Therians, actually, considering it spoke about non-human animal types. However, again, they don't know how to define their own terms, so no one actually like educated these people to rename the article. Who cares? Here's an excerpt from their article. A guy named John on Reddit, who was 19 at the time, told Vice News, "I am a red foxkin who was, as we call, awakened a year ago." He said that awakening felt, at the very least, relieving, because everything seemed to come together for him. He went on to say, "I started getting odd dreams where I would change physically into a fox, and they were very realistic, honestly, and after a while in real life it felt quite real, like I actually had a tail, I actually had ears, I actually had paws." I gotta pause because this is just fucking crazy. That's my pause. Shit. At first, it was one of those things that I freaked out over. I'm sure it was so freaky. I'm sure you're not blowing that out of proportion. And then after a while, it was like, I'm just gonna play with my tail for a minute. Vice then goes on to explain that the sensation John experienced with his tail has been identified by scientists as possible and compared to phantom limb sensation. You know, that feeling you get if you lose a limb, but you've had it for so long in your life that you still kind of feel it there. It's the same thing. Having a foxtail and phantom limb, those are related, guys. When you try to click the link to read about these scientists legitimizing a kid thinking he can feel a foxtail, it leads you to an error page from a site called What Does the Internet Think? Based on all the shit I've seen, I don't give a damn what the internet thinks. Vice goes on to talk about another kid who thinks they're a lionkin, and then goes on to relate Otherkin with transgender people. Many people argue that if the transgender community deserves legitimacy and respect, then the Otherkin community deserves it too, because they're pretty much the same. Oh, you hold on a second, bitch. I do not believe that just because someone thinks that they're otherkin means that you have the right to belittle or harass them, because really, you could be going after someone who is suffering from a mental illness or other condition. It's just not right. Never an okay thing to do, especially if they're not hurting anyone. I know many otherkin think they're totally fine upstairs, however, but many of them honestly believe physical pain they have is attributed to some non-existent mythical characteristic like wings or a tail. Sorry, that's not fine upstairs. Barely anyone is fully fine upstairs. You are certainly no exception to that rule. But back to my original point. They don't deserve to be threatened, insulted, or harassed. So, in that regard, yes, you deserve to be treated right. I wouldn't want to hurt you anyway, because animal abuse is highly frowned upon. There's going to be an up-and-coming dragon legislation for knights in shining armor. They are in trouble. No more slaying them dragons, you bitch. But the fact that otherkin believe the feelings of them wanting to be more non-human can be compared at all to transgender people with legitimate gender dysphoria is a joke. They do not at all deserve that courtesy, and many people agree with me. Otherkin respond to that discrimination and call it persecution. I'm persecuting them. Like persecution? Persecution. Yeah. It also goes to say, I have to get this in, that a lot of otherkin agree with me also and don't believe they are related in any way to what transgender people go through. So I figure I'd say that. But let's get back to the crazy ones. One girl named Sarah identifies herself as fallen angel kin. Yeah, I said that right. You heard it right too. Fallen angel kin. Which just makes me want to slam my face with my palm so hard that the entire planet implodes around me. But Sarah may be onto something. Sarah says that she struggles with a number of other disorders, from an anxiety disorder to social phobias, and feels that becoming non-human is an escape from that. Ding, 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 ding. That's what really is behind all of this. It's a bunch of people who never stop playing pretend. And while playing pretend is great for kids, it's pretty disconcerting when adults are doing it. Man, what about adults who have kids? What about these other kids who have kids? Do the kids ever grow up either? I mean, come on. Let's be fucking honest here. Listen, if you want to be otherkin, whatever. But in my opinion, you're delusional. Feeding a fantasy and your desperate attempts to attach to the transgender community are ridiculous and potentially damaging. If you're an otherkin who doesn't compare themselves to transgender people, I'm not talking to you. So before you go flipping out, down boy, down, you get down. You're gonna get a treat if you get down. You're gonna get a fucking treat. The fact of the matter is, gender dysphoria is scientifically proven. Species dysphoria is not, and that goes tenfold for thinking you're a mythical creature. And one question here, why does it always gotta be a cool animal like a fox or a wolf or a dragon or some shit? Why aren't there tons of goblin-kin? What about groundhog-kin? Manatee-kin? There's few to none identifying with animals or creatures that aren't stereotypically admirable or cool. Where are all the ant-kin? There are fuckloads of ants on the planet. Why isn't your community overrun with an antkin infestation? But spiderkin seems to be a popular one. Because spiders are arachnids, Rob. Because spiders are arachnids, Rob. Just stop. So in summation, otherkin, Therian, whatever. You don't gotta hate on them. Definitely shouldn't be harassing them. Everyone has their quirks. Some people have really fucking big quirks. But it'll be a cold day in hell when I legitimize their subculture and allow them to overrule science with feelings like so many people are trying to do in today's society. Facts are not influenced by your feelings, ladies and gentlemen. And foxes and dogs and horses and rats and whatever the fuck you want to be. And any scientist or other type of professional who starts fudging the numbers to make things look good so more people feel good about themselves should be discredited immediately. I get it. Reality really sucks sometimes. I know you want an escape. But why can't you just do heroin like a normal person? Thanks for watching. I'd love if you'd hit this video with a thumbs up. It means a lot. And check out my other videos by pressing here. And become a subscriber-kin by pressing up above. Thanks again.